Hey, glad you can make it. Welcome to Fantasy Dad Pods, where dad bods are glorified and dad jokes are encouraged. I'm JT, accompanied by Sean. Sean, how we doing?
We're we're doing good. Back from a weekend baseball trip with the family, dog included. Dog got to eat a hot dog at the dog park or at the ballpark on Bark in the Park, so she was all about it. Got a little upset tummy, and some probiotics later, and $130. We were talking before the podcast about this, but JT, I want to save this for then. You probably have a story like this, but dads out there have a story like this. My son hadn't pooped for 4.5 days or something like that, like a couple weeks ago, like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, that's pretty. That's a pretty. He's a little kid. They poop all the time, so you're like, oh man, that's pretty. You gotta go see somebody. And then we call the doctor. We call the doctor, and we're like, hey, they haven't pooped for 4 days. Like, what's almost 5 days? What's going on? They're like, you got to bring them in, because we got to see what's going on. And I get in there. We're there. The appointment's still, I don't remember the exact time, like 9:30. I'm in there, 9:20 rolls around. I'm like, okay, we're kind of there. We get all the paperwork, get everything. 9:25. I'm like, okay. We're sitting there 9:28. I'm like, well, here we go. Yeah, he pooped right in the lobby, and I'm like, I can't cancel now. And I was like, let's go. And like, what? He can't poop. I'm like, well, he did, and here we go. And it was a whole bunch, and I was just like, and the kicker was, so we had taken a previous trip with the boys, like in the car, and it had smelled for some reason, probably a chicken nugget in the car seat or something, something while we were just feeding them while we're driving 6 hours. It was Oregon coast, so it was like, oh, you
Yeah.
had to feed them. You couldn't just stop and go because it would have taken like too much, and you got to get it in so then you could get them in bed at a reasonable time. And so feeding them while we're driving, and so something smells. So we had this guy. I think we told the story. Boom, 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 and had car seats out of that car, the main car that we drive the kids in. So that morning, I put the bag in another car, or in that same car, not realizing has no car seats, but then I put the car seat in like later. I was trying to work and get ready for it, so I put the bag in the car we usually take, not thinking about it. Have the car seat, put it in my other car, put that all strapped in there, get the kid strapped in the car seat, and I go get all the way there and go. The bag is in the other car, and so I'm like, I have no diapers or wipes, like, and the doctor's like, we obviously have some, just
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, that's cool. I just feel like a terrible dad because I was like, they're in the other car sitting in the garage, because that's usually the car I take with them. I don't even think about it. And so yeah, they were in there. So yeah, he cost me a couple bucks, but that's always great when your kids are like, or when you spend money on a sport, something like that, and they're like, I don't want to kick the soccer ball for an entire season. We may or may not have been there, joint effort with both of our boys. Like, hey, we didn't spend a lot of money, but we're like, hey, why don't you kick a soccer ball? And we're having to bribe them with ice cream. Be like, can you just kick it once? Can
Just for anything, yeah.
you stop being in the goal? Like, just playing in the goal net, like you're trapped like a spider. Can you just come on, just kick the soccer ball one time, just so mom can take a picture?
That's good. That's good creativity. I'll give him that
Yeah,
one.
that's yeah.
What are you doing? I'm being a spider. Well,
The
okay.
kids just they like to, I don't want to say waste your money because at least they're enjoying themselves, but I'm just like, this is not why we're here, or this is I brought you in because you didn't poop and you pooped. Like, what do we I feel like that's like, everyone talks about how expensive kids are. That's like 80% of what I feel like kids are. They waste the money right before you use it, and I'm like, I feel like we just wait 10 more minutes every time, we would save like 80% of our money on
Oh
kids.
yeah, but then like once you get them out of a certain stage, they're on to the next. Like you get from baby to toddler, and you're like, wow, fruit costs that much,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Like,
That's all they want because
yeah,
kids get more picky when they're babies. They'll eat whatever. My youngest used to dip grapes in ketchup and eat them, and I'm like, that's disgusting.
I
And
still
now,
do that.
and then now he's just like, I don't want to eat chicken, and I'm like, like, just like, what, like, yeah,
Or the parent math where you're like, okay, I'm gonna get like 4 bananas, and they're gone in like a day and a
yeah,
half. You're like,
yeah,
holy cow, guys! I guess okay, maybe I'll get like 6 bananas, and then like they're gone in like 3 days. You're like, wow, okay, so let's get the Costco bananas, and then they all go bad because no one
yeah,
wants a banana for the next 2 weeks,
yeah.
and that's just way too much banana bread to cook.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids like spending your money and wasting it, but that's part of the kids. We're adults. We understand what we want. Kids are like, they're winging it. Their whole life they're just winging it. So it's great. It's fun. But
Hmm.
wish you would have pooped earlier, kid. Is the more of my story. So that was super fun. That
I'll
was huge.
tell you. I'll tell you what. I got the big Costco pack. They're two different packages, but they got two flavors in each of the
Are you talking
Kirkland.
about diapers? Oh, okay.
No,
Oh, okay.
protein bars.
Yes. Yes.
They're like
They're really good.
chocolate brownie, chocolate
And
peanut butter,
they
cookies
have cookies and cream
cream.
one. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I kind of transitioned my diet after the trip to Hawaii, and I've been just more kind of like calorie intake and up in the
Yeah.
carbs a little bit, so I can have more sustained energy, like when I need to have like a go work out or just
Yeah.
be able to run around and not feel like fatigued after a little bit. But anyways, so that bar still has a ton of dietary fiber, and it's like usually depending depending it's like 10 grams of fiber. So I was like, dang, this is nice too, just to have that option. And you know what, been doing that for like 2 weeks. Maybe the kids, you just break them off like a quarter of that thing.
Get it out.
Good flavor, like, hey,
Yeah.
keep you guys regular because I'm having good results in that department, so just pass that along to your kids.
You don't need what's it for Ensure for or what yeah for
Metamucil or
yeah Metamucil you see for all those commercials out there. You just like Costco. Costco's got everything, man. They help you poop now too. Like I bet those bars are really good, and they come in the bulk, and they mix it up too. So because that's the thing, like at Costco, sometimes Costco's what they're doing. You're just like it's too much of one thing. Even
yeah,
if I
I
love
don't
it,
need
like
36 of one
like
thing.
goldfish crackers. I love goldfish crackers, and it is nice that I don't know what psycho buys the giant box of goldfish crackers because that's just too much. And I open it, I'm like, I can't. I'm not gonna eat all of this goldfish, but the individual pouches are where it's at. But they the variety pack goldfish crackers. I'm like, oh,
Oh
that's
yeah,
the money one.
the
And so like you said,
pretzel and
yeah, like if I
mhm.
buy like 40 power bars or whatever they are, I'm like, I don't want to be the same flavor. Come on, I gotta switch it up. And so it's nice that they mix and match. They get you some two flavors at least. So
Oh yeah. And then when your oldest starts kindergarten next year, and they're like, "Hey, if you don't mind bringing like a big snack for the class," you're like, "Oh, I'm a member of Costco. I got you." And so as long as it doesn't have like the allergy stuff
yeah,
that they worry about, you're like, "Yeah, we're gonna load them up with a 48 pack of Welch's, little
that
gummy."
that is such a game changer. You always see it in there, and I'm like, Costco for again. Like, oh yeah, every time I'm like, good choice, good call. Who doesn't like the Welch's like in there? And it's like it's ready to go. Boom, little packets.
Oh yeah. I feel like this is what's the podcast with Big Cat and Barstool? They were ranking '90s like snacks, after school snacks
Oh yeah,
from the '90s and stuff, and they're just going on and on about like the different varieties of fruit snacks, like Gushers versus just
I
all the
I, I
different.
bought Costco fruit by the foots.
Ooh,
Boom, see the '90s fruit snacks. Now it's kind of lame though. The Costco one has they're all the red bag or the red when you open the box are all the red ones and they're like oh flavor. I'm like I want the color of the wrappers to be different. You know what I mean? Like because they have like four flavors in different flavors in the box, but they're all the same. You know,
is it labeled or is it the mystery? You
I,
don't know what
I
you're gonna
don't really
get.
care, so I haven't really looked at their label because I'll eat them all, like all the flavors. I don't really even have a
Well,
preference, I'm like whatever. But they probably have a label on them. But
I was
actually,
I was
hold on.
hoping that they wouldn't be labeled. Give the kids a little roll of the dice.
Look for the flavor here. What? See, it says look for the flavor here. Where am I looking?
Oh, I don't know. Is it like heat stamped? You put your thumb on it and reveal like
Yeah, what is
it's
that?
encoded. You got to break the code.
Strawberry. I think it's supposed to be like strawberry.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's come on, yeah, make it a little bit. That's my only complaint. Costco, you're doing everything else great, but come on, bring back the old package. I'll say this: number one, original Dunkaroos.
Mm.
They have new Dunkaroos. Costco, not good. Gave them away for Halloween last year because I didn't like them. I was like, this is not where we go to. And I put them in the bowl. I was like, here, take all these. Like
Oh man,
they were not the same.
it
The
just made me
original
realize. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Made me realize I got to stock up on Halloween
yeah,
candy. It's like 'tis the season.
yeah. And then you got this is the bag you eat before Halloween. Then you're like, crap, I actually got to buy a Halloween bag.
Well, yeah, because by the time October 1st hits, you see Christmas stuff in Costco. They
Yeah.
are like at least 3 months ahead. Like you miss out when you're like, oh, you know,
Oh yeah,
Halloween's in 3 weeks. Oh, too late. We sold that 2 months ago. Like you
right.
got,
Because Christmas is the big one, I feel like, for Costco. So they're like, we got to get that Christmas stuff as soon as possible.
The Halloween costumes, though, I feel bad. Like, you're really not going to sell Halloween costumes in the month of October? Like, every year I show up and it's October. I'm like, oh, yeah, do we have a Halloween costume? Oh, wait, Costco's, no, they're all gone. I don't even think they sell out. They just move them, they get rid of them.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
just strictly online.
turn them and burn them. That's Costco style, man. Turn them and burn them.
You know what else I need to turn and burn? All the starting pitchers I picked up to stream this week who just burned me. So now I got to turn my back to them.
Who?
How
Okay,
about?
all right. Who burned you, JT?
Well, before this, we were talking about Matthew Boyd. Now, special place in our heart, Pacific Northwest guy.
He
But
made a sunscreen at him when he signed his hat. Yeah. So
yeah. So he's been pitching pretty dang well of recently, and then he just got into an awful inning today and didn't get out of it and got pulled early, and so the 2 2/3 inning ain't really cutting it, and so along with all a couple walks, a few strikeouts there, it just wasn't really the 2-start week I was hoping for against Minnesota, but yeah. And in other news, I played with fire and I got burnt. His name is Reed Detmers, and if you've ever tried to roster him, it's either like 90th percentile outing or 10th percent. There's no in between. He is just all gas, no brakes. He's literally going to torch a team, or he's going to torture your fantasy team. So 5 1/3, 7 earned, 6 Ks, 3 walks. That's yeah, not a great outing. And it's whatever. It's Reed Detmers, JT. You're saying, and I'm saying, yeah, that's against the Chicago White Sox. Okay,
ooh.
I saw a White Sox matchup, and I was just like, dude's rolling off of facing Minnesota, going 8 Ks, 2 earned, and then before that, the Dodgers, he got 10 Ks, 2 earned over 6. That's who he's rolling off of. And he's like, he's got the White Sox, he's locked in pretty well, and then he just lost focus. I don't know what it was. 7
That's
earned.
against the White Sox. That's rough. I have a stat for you, JT. This is 6 days outdated. I haven't updated for 6 days, or haven't checked
Okay.
it again. How many White Sox players who have been playing second base that day have hit a home run for the White Sox?
3.
1.
Oh.
And it happened, gosh, I can't remember the exact date because I didn't think about it last time. So I would say 2 weeks ago. First time
I
happened,
would say this month.
happened at the end of August. First White
Okay.
Sox second baseman hit a home run that season.
Wow.
That is third lowest WRC plus too. They have two teams in the league have lower second baseman WRC plus as a team on the season. There you go. That's just a good stat. The White Sox have hit 1 home run at second base this year. That's not to say people who have played second base have hit home run, but when the day they play second base, they've hit 1 home run.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive for a Major League Baseball team. And that team tortured your starter. I'm sorry.
I wonder if a second baseman hit a home run today. I just want to look it up
Check it
real
out.
quick
Check it out.
here.
Yeah, I gotta say, mine is 6 days outdated. But
I mean, they scored 8 runs. The White Sox did today. I think one of their second basemen might have done something. So Lennon Sosa is their second baseman today.
Please hit.
He hit a home run.
So JT, so that's 2. So if someone hit 1 in the next 6 days, you're actually would be correct.
What the heck? Are you kidding me?
Wow. You'd actually
Lennon Sosa homer to left field, 3rd inning solo shot.
What's his OPS on the season?
579.
There you go. 579 after the home run. Oh, that hurt my heart.
Regular season stats. He's got 4 on the year, so I don't know if they've already included that or if that's number 5. I'm on ESPN's app, so I'm not on there for the season-long stats too often.
I saw another stat. Starts a White Sox on day. How many batters have played for the White Sox and had an OPS over 100? That means like 1 at bat, come up, get a walk, OPS over 100. or 100 or over. How many? At any point in the season.
for a season long or
Entire
for
season.
the
No, just
game?
they at any point. They don't have to have above 100 now, but just at any point in the season they had above 100.
4. God.
Juan Moncada, who hasn't played
Mm-hmm.
April, and Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham's a 104. He had a 104. Yeah,
Wow.
2. So the Mariners can't hit, but at least they're not the White Sox. So I'm just saying, it's I am the Mariners right now. It's our team. 2 games out of the wild card. I am honestly watching more about the White Sox than I am in the other team. As you can tell, they're so interesting as a team right now. It is. My eyes are glued.
Hey,
My eyes are glued.
we are witnesses to history.
Yeah,
It's
like
just, the non-traditional kind of history.
just either way, most wins, least wins. It is entertaining to watch. Come on, you gotta fall in. We always talk about you win 50 games, you lose 50 games. Where do you do with the other 50 games in the middle? Red
Mm-hmm.
Sox are putting that to the test. And they're definitely not gonna get to 50, but can they get to 40? Yeah, just
They
man,
weren't on pace for it.
no.
I
It
don't know
just
if I don't know if they understand, like, it doesn't matter how bad they are. They only get one number overall pick. It's like if
it's
they lose any extra, you don't get an extra pick.
yeah. We're joking and Detmers and the White Sox were winning 8-0. It is 8-4. The Angels are not like, let's settle down here, White Sox. Like, it's not over yet. So it's still going. So, yeah. They are 35 and 115 as of recording. So, there we go.
Dang.
There we go. All right. More positive news. Let's get to more positive news. Let's look up some dad strength real quick.
Yeah, but it's still. I'm looking at this list. I'm going home run distance, and it's a lot of obscure names. There's some just guys coming out of the woodwork. It's a long season,
Double dip
but
Michael Bush, though, at the top here.
yeah, crack that thing open. Home run in Colorado, both of them.
I guess
Well, there you
I
go.
guess we're both Cougs. There's Bush, Colorado, Coors Light. We're all there. Like for those who
Yeah.
know, Bush holds a special place in our hearts. JT.
Oh yeah, let
Oh,
it
there's a
flow.
lot of Keystone too over there. Keystone. I felt like it was just in bulk. I felt like could just buy it in bulk easier.
What was the one with the black can?
It was Keystone like ice or whatever it was.
Ice. That's right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it was like higher alcohol content. Because remember Budweiser had like Budweiser Black or something at the same time too, or whatever it was. Yeah, it was.
Actually, fun fact, tonight went to a family like cake and ice cream birthday type deal, but she's also going off to college to Western, and they were talking about how Western doesn't have like frats or sororities. And I was like, oh, come on. Some of the best stories, like from Halloween parties. I
Oh
was like, so I told the story about where our buddy Jordan
yeah,
Stewart
yeah,
dressed up as a Hooters girl.
yeah.
And there's also met up with a different group, and there's a guy dressed up as Peyton Manning.
Oh,
And
yes.
and they got the equal amount of cat calls. Like
Yeah.
our buddy Jordan, pretty petite, slender guy, and so he really dressed up.
He pulled it.
And he was getting hit on by the end of the night, like up close and personal, like.
Yeah.
But out on the street, you couldn't even tell. But Peyton Manning also got so many cat calls. I mean, this was like
Peyton Manning too. Yep.
Colts era. They're like, Peyton, you're on my fantasy team. You're the man. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
And without frats or sororities, we wouldn't have got those cat calls because we were just walking up and down that row. And
Halloween
so
in college was like, oh man, top tier. It was top tier. Just the stories, the stories. It's all day. That could be a whole nother podcast.
right.
Pullman Halloween. There we go. There we go. But Michael Bush, yeah, number 1,
Michael Bush,
468. Brandon Drury, haven't heard that name in a couple of years. Sorry, going to LA. Obscurity. It looks like there. Edmund Sousa. There we go. 450. Haven't heard that name. Oh, this Otani guy shows up number 9 though. 450 as well. Oh my gosh, there's like 5 people at 450 on the dot.
yeah. Oh, what's going on?
Charlie Blackmon,
Young Jock.
Jock Peterson.
Man, that Arizona offense had a week. This is ridiculous. Jock, and then who else? It was Grichuk. Kind of
Yeah.
forgot about him. And was it Pavin
Cor-
Smith?
and Corbin Carroll still he's alive.
That's right. Yeah.
He's doing his thing now. Julio's up here twice. Number 16 and 14, 448 ish for both. Lawrence Butler, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, 444.
Jackson Churio. I don't know if it's this one in particular at 449 against the Giants, but he's in the 2020 club as a
Yeah.
rookie.
Yep. Youngest ever, right? I
I
believe.
think
I
I
saw
think
that.
I heard that. Yeah.
Youngest ever. So it says that was his 16th home run. So
Okay, so he's had a few since then.
yeah. So
Because this is spanning since our last like super focused baseball
yeah.
pod,
So
so
2 weeks.
it's
Yeah.
been like August
Oh
26th.
yeah. Actually, a little bit longer than that. Yeah. Michael Bush on here again. Okay, Michael Bush. Corbin Carroll on here again. And Eugenio Suarez. Okay. Gosh, Michael Bush. I just keep seeing his name up here. Having a time. Yeah, actually, that you say this, like, this is probably the most random list I've ever seen. I mean, there's you get a Tyler O'Neill in here too, a Judge in here, but yeah, you get a Tovar up here. Well, Rowdy Telez, who just has to hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Stowers, Francisco Alvarez, Pete Crow Armstrong, who just doesn't only rob home runs but hits them. Will Benson, haven't heard that name in a while. Love it. So, like, yeah, this is kind of all over the place. I'm digging this. Luke Ridley's up here, two in the top 50. There we go.
Geez, Bush had 3 home runs
Yeah,
against Colorado. And then his fourth one, I scrolled it down to the bottom because every once in a while I remember that you do that too, and it's kind of
yeah.
fun to just see. There's nothing like weird at those
There's
weird
not like a
ones that are
10-foot one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, he's fifth from the bottom though as well. So 339, a little
Hey,
shoddy.
all counts the same. And hit
Yeah,
in the right spot. You always scroll down and it's always like pesky pole. It's always like
right.
you always know it's like right there. Yeah, bottom one, pesky pole. I mean, it was a Boston guy, but Rife's, you know what I'm
Ref
talking about.
Snyder. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
That or yeah, it's usually it's either Boston or the Yankees. Like it's one of the two usually for
Yeah,
the shortest.
it's always like those little dinky ones yeah, that barely just clear. So
I was gonna say or Houston, and boom, yeah, Ben Smith right there, Houston.
yeah. Oh gosh, like barely clearing the wall. I like those short ones too. Those are funny. Seeing the people at the bottom are always entertaining too. Jordan Alvarez is down here though, so yeah, it all counts the same. Juan Soto's down here, so Freddie Freeman. Man, there's a lot of home runs we haven't done. We needed to update this. It's 600 something. But yeah, scroll way down here. I was like, I gotta
Right.
get bar up here.
Let's switch over to Exit Velo because you know what? These names are names that get paid. These guys are household names. Posters are on a bunch of walls for kids across the country. Like it'd be hard pressed to find a not household name in the top 20 here. It's
I was gonna say
ridiculous.
Manny Diaz is the only in the top 10 that is not like been top other than O'Neal Cruz. But O'Neal Cruz, we all know what O'Neal Cruz is. Everybody else is like MVP, runner or runner up
Right.
last 3 or 4 years. Tatis Jr., I guess not Stanton, but like Vlad Otani is up here twice. Or 3 times. O'Neal Cruz 3 times. Like Jake Berger sneaking in, Aaron Judge, Matt Chapman, who's apparently doing it, Otani again, Kyle Schwarber a couple times. Yeah, you're right, JT. Matt, Minnesota. What are we doing here? Matt Wallner. He was on the home run one too, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing some stuff. But yeah, he's sneaking in there, top 20. Because O'Neal Cruz couldn't let anybody else have any more fun, so he's sneaking at 21 again. But
O'Neal Cruz is has 3 singles to show for his
yeah,
his 120, 118, and 117.5 efforts.
like, he does not. Nothing is cheap. Nothing's cheap. Like it is just rockets. Like everything. He probably could have stretched that one, but I'm just watching this first one. But man, like that is a rocket. honestly, sometimes it hits it too hard, like we've talked about, like off a
Hmm.
wall, or it went too hard. If it had died in the grass a little bit, maybe he could sneak it out, but it's just like right to the center, like it's on a line and it's still moving. It's like, man, maybe hitting it too hard. No, just keep doing what you're doing, O'Neal Cruz. Jaron Duran, a couple hard hits as well. O'Neal Cruz on here again, dude. Chill out, Otani. Come on, like man, these guys. O'Neal Cruz again. Stop. He's on here again. 1, 2,
Holy cow.
3,
Okay, so
4, 5, 6, 7 in the top 42. Otani's 43, so he's like got 5. Like,
I'm gonna change the search. It won't update your link or anything, but
yeah.
I wanna get the count without having to manually do it. So if I go to
O'Neal Cruz or Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s up here 7 times on top 59 as well.
O'Neal Cruz has 20 of these on this board since August 26th. Oh, and Otani has 20 as well. I was gonna say is that a high, but no, it's not even close.
I was gonna say
But in terms of quality, I don't know. It's just all hit balls. But
that needs to have
yeah.
like I heard a good a burn here, but when it was old footage, I was watching old footage of the Field of Dreams game, and they
Hmm.
showed Stan's home run, and it was like a line drive, and it was like someone hit it so hard it made popcorn in the outfield. I was like, oh, that's a good one. that's a that's a good one.
Ooh.
That's a good one. Because Otani hit a home run 118, and I'm like, dude, like I'm not catching that. I'm getting out of the way. Like that's not happening.
Okay, let's touch on Otani, the unicorn, real quick. We're on
Okay.
50-50 watch.
Yes.
What signifies, like, is this the greatest fantasy season that we've seen since, like, we're talking like Bonds era, or like, or would you equate it to, like, I mean, 50-50 is just, that's a 5 category. He already has over 100 runs and ribbies. It's ridiculous. It's just like, I think it's, I mean, there's a couple Pujols years in there that I can think of, but it's just like,
The problem is with Bonds when he was going off, there were other people hitting 60 something. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
I don't know who's the second guy in the league in home runs. That's what I can't remember. But I feel like
like back then.
no, right now, like who has the second most home runs in baseball? Do you
Wasn't
know?
Judge first, and then it's
Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah, I guess there's one of each, but I feel like there's a gap after that, isn't there? It's just those two guys. I feel like there's people fighting in the 30s, but is there anyone else in the 40s?
let
Am
me
I
pull
like
up Fangraphs for
yeah?
you.
Am I just drawing a blank on like who else is there? Because my thing is like it really comes down to because I know OPS
Santander is also 41.
41, so
So
someone else has
yeah,
barely cracked 40. So it's
yeah,
just two dudes and then like 8 more home runs and then the next person. Um, I feel like the issue comes from like greatest fantasy seasons is the gap between everybody else. So maybe Bonds probably is the greatest one ever because it wasn't just like the home runs; it was like he had an on base of like 600. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like it's just like oh my gosh, he just never got out. You're just like something's getting filled up. I'm getting on base. If his average league, it might be one thing, and he's still obviously his average was great. But if his on base percentage league, Barry Bonds was just doing things that no one's ever gonna see again. Probably, you know what I mean? Like
right,
pitching is just like so crazy at this point. But in terms of like, because I view that as a different era of baseball. I don't know, but that's definitely different than it is.
true,
Um, in the era of today, I feel like it is. I would say Acuna's year last year. What would
yeah,
you like 40-70? Was that it? Like 40-70 something? That's also pretty up there. Because 70 of any category is just absurd as well. Um, so I
yeah,
feel like
41-73 last year,
yeah, I feel like those
149 runs.
those two are in a class of their own. So I would say like greatest 1A 1B. If Acuna didn't do what he did last year, yes, I would say clearly hands down. It's just one of those two. It's one of those two are like the greatest seasons fantasy that like I've been playing fantasy for. Like let's put it that way. Yeah, last 20 or so years. Like Trout had a couple years where it was crazy when he was doing everything else, but like not 50-50. There's a bunch of 30-30 guys, but not a bunch, but 30-30 guys. But like, gosh, It also doesn't hurt that he plays on that team. You know what I mean? Like anytime he gets on base, it's
Oh,
just like
for
there's
sure.
MVPs behind him that I feel like other teams. I mean, Acuna had that too, I guess. But like, yeah, Otani and Acuna are 1A 1B, and it comes to greatest seasons ever.
It,
I saw an argument, JT, of do you think he should win the MVP because he just doesn't play defense?
ooh,
Is that,
yeah, I
is that a big
saw
knock?
Poppy talking about it.
Yeah, is that a big enough knock to not give him an MVP? Because I agree that it should knock him, but I feel like he's so much higher than everybody else. Like, how do you not at this point? If he does 50-50, you kind of got to give it to him, but like, there's no one else that's having like there's not if Judge is in his on his side of the bracket, I feel like you give it to Judge just because he does play in the field. That is a little bit harder, but since he's not,
Hmm.
got to be the National League MVP, right? I know Lindor's having a crazy good year too, which is like kind of sneaky. But I know Lindor might have, at last I heard, had a higher WAR than.
Yes.
So yes, so
And then there's J Ram quietly having, he has a chance to go 40-40. He's at 35-39 right now.
yeah, yeah.
Isn't that
Again,
crazy? The most quiet 40-40
we talk about it all
potential.
the time, and we're like, nah, he's got to be. People got to know him now, and he's like, nah, he's gonna go 44. No one's gonna say a word about me. Like just an easy 5 WAR season, top 10 in baseball, no big deal. Like no one's gonna say
Hmm.
a word. Like so, it's just like. Yeah, like man, Aaron Judge has a 10. That's just stupid. But I just feel like Shohei Otani a 7 WAR with just DHing because it's him and Judge as Judge has a 200 WRC plus. It's just so stupid.
Oh man.
I think it's
Okay,
gotta be Otani, but Lindor has a real case. Like someone brought it up, and I'm like, it's
sure.
a real case. Like he's been very good defensively, and it's part of the game. Playing defense, he's really good at it, and
Oh yeah.
it shouldn't be
Well,
knocked.
I mean, for as good as Lindor is, Bobby Witt is just as good defensively. Do you feel like it's much of a race between Judge and Witt?
I think it is, or it should be. Um, People are going to look at the nice home runs of the 53 home runs and be like, "Man, look at that!" And I mean, if it comes down to the most valuable player, not the best, because that's usually what but most valuable to your team, it's Bobby Witt. You take Judge off of that, you still got Juan Soto. You take Bobby Witt off the Royals. I mean, you have some players on that team, but you don't have a Juan Soto. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
don't, like we talk about the list. Juan Soto's number 4 on this list. He's right there. He's actually higher than Otani and Lindor. We're talking about. So like that's the point right there. Like Bobby Witt
Uh,
is technically the most valuable to his team.
oh yeah. Sal Perez is the next most valuable on the Royals at a 3.3 WAR.
Yeah, like I'm just like, yeah, it's just, I think he's got to be the guy. It's got to be Judge though. Just it doesn't have to be Judge, but if I think if Judge will win, just because again, it is just he's a 214 WRC plus JT. like it's just what what do you do? How do you not? You know what I mean? Like he's like, hey, we're not asking you to play great, and he's put in a position. I'll say this: his WAR should be higher because he's being asked to play center field. He's not a center fielder, but because of the Yankees' construction, roster construction. He's
Mm-hmm.
had to play center field. That is not on Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge should be a left fielder right now. They should have Juan Soto and Aaron Judge and a true center fielder, but they don't because the Yankees did that. Aaron Judge didn't do that. Aaron Judge actually is like, I'll take one for the team and play center field. You know what I mean? Like, so we can keep the bat in there and then do this stuff. And
Right.
they're gonna like, oh, his defensive WAR. I'm like, he's doing something for the team. Bobby Witt is playing the position he's supposed to be playing and playing it very well. Yes, Judge is being asked to play a position he probably shouldn't be playing and is not killing you with defense, but like he has a 200 WRC plus, so he's more than okay with the standard.
Oh, you know who my MVP is? I'm just doing this for just ridiculousness. It's Brent Rooker. Because if you were to tell me that Judge only has 132 RBIs, but Brent Rooker in Oakland has 107, just based on sheer like numbers accumulated, he's got 37 home runs and 10 steals to go along with the 107 RBI. He's still what was it?
Dude,
401 WOBA, 169 WRC plus. Like,
higher than Otani WOC plus.
my goodness. How, how? Uh, how did you get 107? Okay, so you yourself crossed the plate 37 times. So, so how did you get 70 Oakland Athletics hit in?
He has only been hit in 78 times. Let's put it that way. If he doesn't hit himself in, he's not scoring. Like this
That's
is basically half.
it's
Almost half of his runs are himself. Like 50%.
it's that's funny. Yeah, because 38 compared to the 37 home runs.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I gotta hit myself in, or I'm just not doing it. I'm not crossing the plate.
Man, I really haven't looked at overall RBI numbers in a while. Willie Adames, you wouldn't have convinced me he's got 109 RBI, like so quietly 109. I knew he's having a really solid year, but I didn't know he's driving in that many RBI.
Yeah, if it's so, yeah, I guess get back. If it's truly MVP, it's Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Witt. But like best player, Aaron Judge. Man, National League, it's hard to say a Dodger deserves the MVP. You know what I mean? They have so many MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
It's 50-50, you know what I mean? And he's hurt. Like he had Tommy John. Like he's like,
Right.
oh, well, let's get what you can out of you. And he's like, I'll just do 50-50. They're like, that'll work. That'll work. We'll make you earned your 70 million, I guess, this year. He felt bad, so he decided to go 50-50. Yeah, I mean, he already has the record. He already is the highest 47-47. He's the first one ever. So he's already
Right.
so like he's just breaking every time he hits a home run, he breaks another record. So
You,
I really hate not giving it to Lindor, but I think it just has to be Otani. I think it's hard not to. It's hard not to.
yeah, I think it's the historic record breaking, like kind of tips the scale a little bit
Yeah,
more towards the time. I'm already leaning that way, but I'm just like, okay, congrats, tip of the cap. Like you're having a really great year, Lindor or Ellie or whoever you want to kind of like try to say is in that realm of. But it's just it's different. It's just
yeah.
like we haven't seen this to this scale. It's just like, and I know he's just a DH, but he's lapping you in war and just hitting alone. I know you gotta go preoccupy yourself with defense,
We've
but
also talked about it too. Like he's hurt, but like Mookie Betts has been hurt for a long time. Freddie Freeman's been out of lineup too. He's the only consistent guy there. Like
mm-hmm,
he's been with a torn ulnar and like just hitting 50-50. And he's like, I've got to be healthy and stay here for this lineup because like they would have probably been fine without him, but they wouldn't be where they are without him because the other guys have been hurt. And he's kind of
right,
he's had to be the rock on top of being hurt and on this big, huge mega contract. Everyone in the world's watching him, and he did it. You know what I mean? Like, talk about pressure. I know Lindor's like, I got to go play in New York. Like, Otani's got an entire country looking at him, all the time, and the entire United States looking at him. You know what I mean? And then he did it. He's like, $70 million. They're like, you can't be worth it. Blah blah. Blah. Like, oh, he's like, well, and you're hurt. You're not even gonna pitch. Well, I'm worth it. And I'm like, the amount of pressure, physical ailments, doing 70, 47, 47. It's got to be him. It's got to be him. Like the whole package, the whole narrative. I think it's just got to be Otani.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, spent way too much time on baseball, more
We,
than I thought. But hey,
hey,
it's wrapping up, and it's kind of exciting to watch not only your fantasy teams compete, but the real baseball and playoffs come together. And so, tweet at us at Fantasy Dad Pods if got any start conundrums you want to ask. Give us your questions. We'll try to give you some advice. But let's switch over to some fantasy football. What's your initial just reaction when you're thinking fantasy football for 2024 right now, 2 weeks in?
passing has been down. I think everyone could kind of like see that. I think it's going to take some time to the offensive minds of the NFL to adjust because the defense is like, okay, this is what we're doing. And the Andy Reid's out there got to be like, okay, because as someone who's invested in Mahomes, at least in one league, it's
Mm-hmm.
not it's not going great right now when he's dropping me 16 points on average between the first 2 weeks. I'm like, ugh, come on, I need a little bit more oomph out of you.
Right.
It's rough across the board for a lot of fantasy quarterbacks in particular. I mean, I had Josh Allen who got 9 points because they dominated so much so early. I'm like, he got 9 points, and I'm just like, man, like those are my two quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Mahomes, and they're not going well for me this year. It's just gonna take time to adjust. The league's trying to get the passing up, as we've seen. We shared some videos today. It's more lesser known guys are running more, and that's what's driving some of the fantasy value. Kyler Murray, I want to say lesser known, but has fallen off for sure. Did not go very early.
Hmm.
Those kind of guys are going on their minds. Carr is like the best quarterback. It's just things like that. So when I say that, when Carr is most fantasy points, it's still early. Let's keep that in mind. So, but shifting and maybe like watching how this rest of the year plays out will be interesting going into next year because it has definitely been down from previous years. What about you? Have you thought like I know defenses are usually ahead, but I feel like they're more ahead this year than in the past.
Yeah, some kind of, I think taking week one into week two is still kind of like offensive, spreading the ball out a lot. In terms of like some like really lopsided wins, and like you said, like the Josh Allen of um, just not having to do as much because the game was out of hand early, enough for him not to be needed to put on his cape, if you will. But like just in general, I think just a lot of touchdown swinging probably outcomes. I would think overall for matchups, like just really kind of not what you would project for the remaining rest of the season. Like it's I would think things are going to level out and find their average, but I mean, if like we said kind of last week, if you had a really great scoring offense, at least for week one, it's like might want to leverage that for a trade. I don't think that's going to be the norm for the rest of the season. And week two kind of had some similar vibes to that. Um, but man, it's it's been interesting. Just put it that way. I mean, like I don't know. Like I I don't. It's I mean, Kyler Murray's been proven to be a top quarterback when he's on the field, but it's like you can't really bet on something like that. Whereas Sam Darnold is competent in Minnesota. It's just like, but how is that? I mean, that's great and all, but are you willing to drop someone you drafted at this point unless you're looking at an injury or you stashed like Love or someone like that on the IR? It's really, it's like it's really tough to have actionable outcomes, at least for definitely for quarterbacks, because storyline's great, but like you got to play the odds, and the odds are saying that I would doubt Darnold would be worth it the rest of the season.
Yeah, you got his two bullets in the chamber. Maybe have two more. Maybe you know what I mean. Like rest of the
Yeah,
season, but I feel like most of the bullets have been fired already. So you can rush to pick them up, but I just feel like we've talked about it before. Like you probably missed the boat on most of the nice like success there. So yeah, I think that's the easiest thing. The other thing is like I feel like and we'll transition to that. The injuries have been like crazy so far this year. You just go down the
hmm
list. AJ Brown did not play week 2. Expect him to miss a couple weeks. Deebo Samuel missed a couple weeks. Christian McCaffrey is officially placed on IR. Pacheco just broke his leg, his fibula, 6 to 8 weeks.
mm
I know I'm missing some other people off the top of my head. Oh gosh, obviously Tua's hurt. Jordan Love got hurt. Running backs. We had Kenneth Walker already miss a week. It just feels like
hmm
this in particular is like guys in the first 4 rounds have been dropping like flies, and I don't know what it is. It doesn't sound like a lot of them are ton of them are season-ending injury, but like this with the start of the year of like injuries and like crazy fantasy like starts to offense, it just feels like everything got jumbled like a snow globe, and it's like we'll see how it goes. We'll
right.
we'll figure it out. So
God, there is. I mean, I know I've been watching the news feeds, but like forgot about AJ Brown. That's right. Um, let's see, who's the two other Joe Mixon. Um, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, it's just like, yeah,
Yes.
with Cooper Cup now and
Yeah, Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua, both
Puka
those guys.
last week.
Yeah. Yep. Like it just
Yep.
it's massive. I feel like just like high picks are just dropping like flies, and it's just Josh Allen hurt his hand. So did Joe Burrow. They both had injuries going into week 2, non-throwing hands, but they're just like still it's not nothing. You know what I mean? Like so, I'm just like even the guys who are healthy are already banged up, and I'm just like man, Justin Jefferson listed as questionable, limped off like day to day. Like just like oh man, like it just feels like it's just a rough start to health. Justin Herbert going down. I don't know if you roster Justin Herbert. I don't think you should at this point, but get a hot take there.
He was my dark horse of years past, but this year I didn't know what to
I
expect.
think they're going to with Harbaugh. They're going to run the ball and just try to keep him upright because they know and then use him when they have to because they only have so many bullets in the chambers. Not because Herbert's not a beast, but they got no one catching a ball. You know what I mean? Like it is just
Hmm.
not a lot to work with, and they're just like, look, we're gonna need to, and the line is better but not figured out yet, and like we got to keep him upright and healthy for the long term. Already kind of failed, but
Right.
like it's just like we gotta like like there's only so many shots he could keep taking. We kind of got to rest him and like I don't want to say like they're 2-0, so I don't want to say it's like it's a waste year, but like let's if we could do something and sneak something and get some tough wins, let's do it. But they got to just get more weapons next year, and I think they know that. They're just like let's just keep Justin Herbert alive for right now, and yeah, that's that they're gonna just play it safe with him. I feel like this year. But yeah, it's early and crazy when Alvin Kamara has 20 more fantasy points than the next or 10 more fantasy points than the next person, and it's a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like that Baker Mayfield is number 2. So, and then and then you got 2 running backs, then Derek Carr. So, like, yeah, I just it's early. That's what that means. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Okay, I guess we can transition to we can just do add or believe or don't believe if you want right now. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna touch on Carr. We both are out on Carr. Um, I don't think that's particularly a hot take. I guess I'll have one here. I am more believing in. I don't want to say like completely sold, but like I think Baker Mayfield is mostly this is real, not this level of like. But if you told me he was good for 18 a week because he's averaging what 24, 25. If he got me,
Hmm.
I could see a realistic possibility going forward 18 or 19 a week with that team because again it's in the South. I'm like
Right.
I could see Baker Mayfield doing that. I just love he showed so much promise early in Cleveland. I think the the situation of Cleveland sucked it all out of them. You know what I mean? They have a tendency to do that. I look at the Deshaun Watson and all that situation. Pro Bowl to he can't function. Like I just feel like, and then he's just out there and just he's been killing it for 2 years in a row now, giving a shot somewhere else. And I'm just like Baker's. There may be something there a little bit.
Hmm.
He's rostered about
I
6% of leagues.
I agree with Baker. I would even lean towards Derek Carr I mean, like, if you're looking at like, oh, I've got Caleb Williams and I'm just like a Stanley and he's my backup. Would you rather take Carr? I mean, both of those
Yeah,
Chicago and
100%.
New Orleans defensive have given their offenses the football a heck of a lot more
Yeah.
than the average week. These first 2 weeks, they played really well. Lots of turnovers, lots of opportunities, and well, Derek Carr made the most of it at least. Can't say the same about Caleb Williams.
Oh,
So, I
yes.
mean, in terms of shuffling like a backup thing, sure, Derek Carr, but like long term, you're starting him week in, week out. And it's like, I'm not sure. I mean, technically the weapons are there, but I wouldn't rely on it. But I agree with you on the Baker thing. Like, I would rely on it a little bit more, might be more realistic.
I mean, there are 5 quarterbacks averaging more than 20 points a game in fantasy this year,
Hmm.
and a half point in just. I guess half point doesn't matter. There's Lamar, Kyler, Jalen Hurts. Those are bottom 3: Carr and Baker Mayfield. There's no MVP guy. I mean, Lamar, I guess, but like other than that, there's no like guys who've got an MVP. Like there's no front runners. Allen's, Mahomes, Strouds. Like there's none of those guys up there. Like they're averaging like 16 a game. Mahomes 15 a game. Like so it's just like
Jaden Daniels has over
20 a game, cracked it just barely.
without throwing a touchdown. He's rushed for 2 touchdowns.
Yep, that's it. That's he's just.
That's crazy.
I think that I think continues. I mean, I don't think the running goes anywhere. He's 89 and basically 90% rostered, so I feel like that's pretty safe.
Yeah.
That's going to continue. But I'm just worried about Anthony Richardson thing. Like at a certain point, you are going to have to throw the football to get fantasy points. And Richardson's been better. He's just been so boom or bust that like I think he'll boom like 3 times a game, and they're just so big. They're like 60-yard touchdowns, and I'm like, doesn't matter what he does with the
Mhm.
ball. That play right there is 10 points, 12 points, and he's going to rush for a little bit. You're already at 15 if he doesn't do anything else. He'll throw a pick, and then he'll be, boom, another 40-yard touchdown. You're at 22, another pick, 2 picks. You're at 20. Like, you're going to get there, fumble or something like that. Like, he can make 2 mistakes with just how boom he's going to be. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels has the rushing and all that stuff. I don't know if he has like the I'm gonna throw a 60-yard bomb. You know what I mean? Like so the rushing is nice, but he's not gonna get 17 rushing touchdowns. That's
Right.
what I'm getting at. So I'm like, he's gotta throw some touchdowns. And he will, but again, like a rushing touchdown's worth more than, and so it's gonna just come down. It'll be probably closer to 18 or 17 fantasy points. Maybe as the season goes on, deviations will probably adjust. He'll probably like maybe 21 a game, but like everyone else will get back up to their normal, throw up some 24s and things like that. So he might just get lapped by some more people. Like Josh Allen will jump ahead of him and things like that. But I just feel like that's not the case. One that I believe in that is lower and just needs a little bit of help, and as the season goes at will, is Geno Smith. Um, those three receivers they're dudes. They're all
Oh,
dudes.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
there might not be a better threesome of receivers in the NFL. Like it is just the only thing killing them is that O line. It's just been awful in pass pro, and
Right.
hopefully the idea is they get a little bit better as the season gets on because you give him just a little bit of time. I rewatched the game because I was driving home from Seattle while the game was happening, and I think I saw he was the first quarterback in this tracking area since 2016 to throw 30 passes or more and not have one off target. Not one was off target.
Wow.
Now, this is skewed where some guy will like do a throwaway, where he's like scrambling and throws the ball away. Does
Right.
include that, but like, so maybe if they didn't include that and they all are actual throws, but still, in the grand scheme of things, didn't have a throwaway and everything was on target. And it's just like, dude is playing so well right now, but it's not, like that O line is not doing him any favors. And if they just play a little better, the dude is going to go absolutely bananas. And he's still, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's the eighth best quarterback right now in fantasy. Anyways, that's starting fantasy right now, in theory. You know what I mean? Like top 12, you're technically a starting fantasy guy, and he's 8 right now, and the offensive line's not playing well. I feel like they play a little better. He will stay here. The Mahomeses and the Strouds will come up and pass him, I assume, but the Jaden Daniels, the Derek Carrs, the Bakers will come back down to earth a little bit, and
Yeah.
he'll fall right around 8th, I believe, if he just gets a little bit more protection. This is not unsustainable, I think, for him. Rostered to 16% of leagues. I feel like that needs to come up. Do you got a guy you're liking or disliking? Like should be rostered less.
Oh, less?
I'm looking at
What
what do you think? I'll give you two. Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow. What do you think? Both 88% above, and it is not 12 points each or 12-point average. What do you think?
I feel it's yeah, for Purdy, it's always been the weapons around him, right? He's he's really good, but he needs, athletes around him. Who Debo's out now, Christian's taking a seat. He's got Ayuk still and Kittle,
Their number one
but
first round pick got shot. like
wow.
honestly, like
Yeah.
they have 3 monster receivers and a great running back, and 2 of the receivers are down, and
Mhm.
quarterback's gone. So like it is like you're right.
And then so with Burrow, his top guy wants money and is making every little thing to sit out. It seems like his wide receiver 2 is hurt, and uh, I don't know who he throws it to. But that's the same thing where I was going to kind of like lump in Stafford. I see it like 70% rostered. It's like, dude, like, man, you were like really looking forward to like Nakua and Cup, and now you're just like, I
Yeah.
mean, season long, it might be there, but for the next few weeks, if I
He
don't,
played amazing in that Detroit game. But
yeah,
there was only 2 people to throw it to, and then in the second half, he didn't have anybody because or I guess Cup played but then he got hurt, but it was just like, now I saw a stat he has, or I came up with a stat, he has 1 starting offensive lineman, he has 2 third-string offensive linemen playing, he has a
hmm
backup tight end, and now he is on his 3rd, 4th, and 5th receivers are his starting wide receivers. Like, at a certain point, I know, like, everyone's like, "Oh, of course, it's a quarterback," but at a certain point, you need a body. You know what I mean? Like, I need an
right,
NFL caliber starting guy, and I'm like, I mean, well, you know what? Their starting tight end is the 3rd string Seahawks tight end from last year. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just like, at a certain point, Sean McVay's like, "Look, I'm really good, and Matthew Stafford's really good, but like, we just got to have a guy who's healthy to catch a pass." And I feel like you're right. I feel like Stafford is probably rostered too high just because of the weapons around him. I feel like Brock Purdy and Joe Burrow haven't played that well. I think Stafford has actually played very well, but there's just no one to catch a pass. There's just no one to
right,
catch a pass, and he has to be dropped more because it's Tutu Atwell is like your number 1 guy. Like, like
yeah,
what? How do you roll with that? Like, it's just like, it's you just can't do it. You just can't do it in the NFL. So yeah, that's yeah, and Caleb Williams, 70%. That needs to be immediately in the 20s. Like, he needs to show it first. I get, like, if you're in a keeper league or something like that, but even then, that's the only league it could possibly be in. Like a long term keeper league with, like, you can keep basically your whole roster.
right,
Because you obviously get it, like, it's 2 games into a guy who's number 1 draft pick and saw all the good things he can do, but it's obviously not clicking right now. You cannot, you can't. You can't. So, if it's a redraft league or even just like a keeper or 2 or 3 keepers, anything short of like mega dynasty, you gotta get clear house. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how a super crazy turn is
Eh,
happening like that.
yeah. Because the flip side, he doesn't really have an excuse. I mean, other than what the O line, but in terms of weapons, they're all
O-line's not gonna
pretty much
change.
there.
Yeah, like,
No, I'm just like
yeah,
in terms of the top names we mentioned earlier. It's like, the situation should only improve from this point. Where he started off where that O line's just that O line. It's kind of like Gino. You would think they're going to mesh and get better, but at least Gino's persevering despite that.
yeah,
But yeah, Derek Carr 20% rostered, Sam Darnold 14% roster. I mean, teams have to you know, account for Tua getting injured,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
You know, Caleb, you don't need to roster him at the 79 you mentioned. Um, Trevor Lawrence, 74% rostered. I don't know. Stafford you on these, I don't know. It's like these 2 QB leagues. I feel like unless your second quarterback is just like, you spent that high draft pick for it. I feel like you go by the matchup, you go by like, what have they done for me lately, and you just kind of see how everything's flowing. And I mean, usually in 2 QB leagues, sometimes you're benching or you're stashing a third QB on the bench just for these names that were like, yeah, it's not clicking right now, but it could potentially. It might just depend on well, I mean, it always depends on your league specifics, but it might just depend on how you've constructed your roster, where your depth is, what you can salvage, how deep your bench is, so on and so forth. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And QBs are, to sum up, they're boom or bust because they usually get the most points, and it's just been rough this year so far.
yeah.
So, but just hold off. Looking at running backs, it is like the top guys are the top guys. Now the results vary. Like, we're already, you get down here to like Bijan Robinson is averaging shy of 14 a game in a half point PPR league.
hmm
Not the best, but 14 is serviceable. But I don't think anybody that high up is really like overpriced. Zach Charbonnet at 74% rostered is I mean, is maybe a little high, but I mean, in his first like start this year, he did get 15 and a half. So, I mean, like, I feel like that's very much Seahawks. Seahawks are like a lot of these teams, like the Derrick Henrys, the Saquon Barkleys, these people. like these running quarterbacks. It's funny to watch James Cook go off in his second week because Josh Allen ran for everything week 1, and the Bills
Right.
like, stop it, like, like James Cook handing the ball. So, but like all these, the Seahawks are very much like a, we're not running with Geno. We're not, we don't have a lot of big bodies. I mean, DK, but he's never been a jump ball guy. So they're
Mhm.
going to turn around and hand that ball off to the running back. The Seahawks type are. So it's really important to know those teams who are going to hand the ball off. Kerryon Williams for the Rams. They're going to turn around and hand the ball off. And so, like, knowing who Aaron Jones, Minnesota, they're going to hand that ball off. So, Josh Jacobs used to be the guy they're going to turn around and hand off. Now Malik Willis doesn't throw the ball. So maybe that's one. Josh Jacobs fantasy owners. It's going to be boom or bust. It's going to be with Malik Willis. He's not going to throw the football. So there's going to be a lot of read options. Those do help the running back sometimes, but again, Malik Willis is going to keep that sometimes now too. So
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be kind of close, maybe a little bit less. You're going to get a little bit less of it because getting the longer drives to get those touchdowns might not be there as much with a Malik Willis. So I'll probably downgrade him a little bit, but it does tend to open up running lanes when you have a read option quarterback for the actual running back that benefits in that situation. So I rostered Devin Singletary. He's got let me see here. He's averaged 10 fantasy points. We're starting to get to like he's 83% rostered. Is that too much? I don't know. Oh, I could give a couple. Austin Eckler, 84% rostered, down, much further down, half point PPR. That's not going to cut it. He's averaging 9 points a game. I just, there's so many running backs, like his partner in crime's averaging almost 16. I just feel like that's all like pass catching with no yards after catch. So yeah, he's got 6 receptions. So I'm like, that's 3 of your 18 points on the season. I don't know how he's going to get a rushing touchdown, especially we talk about that offense. The quarterback keeps it.
Mhm.
Number 1 guy, like any Dallas running back, get rid of him. Najee Harris, Pittsburgh, get rid of him. 90%. As long as Justin Fields is your fantasy quarterback, that offense is going to be garbage. That offense is garbage. Like they've scored 15 points a game in 2 weeks. I don't care if they're 2-0. They're 2-0. They've played the Falcons defense and the Broncos. like, and they put up 15 points a game. That is just, it is not good. It is not good.
Yeah.
Like the offense in general, everybody. So I don't say Russell Wilson's a world beater, but it's hopefully going to look more like an NFL offense if and when he comes back. I think it's a huge mistake if Pittsburgh doesn't put in Russell Wilson. Not because I think, again, Russell Wilson's going to turn this team, but at least maybe it'll have some semblance of an NFL offense because it is just not one right now. Justin Fields is averaging like 110 yards passing a game. And as you can see it, Najee Harris is averaging 69 yards on 18 carries. Oh, no. Sorry. Let me see here. He's averaging 3.8 yards per rush. That's doing nothing, and 1 catch a game. That's not going to happen. That's a nothing burger unless he gets a touchdown. And we don't want our running backs to be running touchdown dependent. We want our tight ends to be touchdown dependent. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Right.
any Pittsburgh guy out immediately. So, anybody else that you're like, it's hard to feel it to be like super pumped about a running back at this point, but it's easier to be like, what are we doing running backs wise at this point?
Yeah. The only other one that stands out to me, which was kind of like I'm surprised because going into the season, I was just like, don't really care about who gets the ball in Las Vegas because it doesn't really matter. Well, it turns out that half of that is still true, and the other half is like, well, so Zamir White, don't really. I'm 86% rostered. It's like, that seems high, but you know what, Madison, he got the red zone looks. He got the we're in the first 2 games when we're losing, he's our pass catching running back 3rd down looks. If anything, he's just going to get more usage and more opportunity. I'm not saying he's necessarily needs to be on all your teams. It's just dependent. But if you're going to have one of the Las Vegas ones, at least I feel like he's going to have the higher ceiling and should be more relevant. But again, it's almost kind of like a Dallas thing where it's like, I don't. It's not even really worth mentioning. But I thought that was kind of an intriguing flip from.
As someone who drafted later, I just needed a starting running back, Xavier White, and he's clearly the
Yeah,
starting running back.
yeah,
It's worse than I even thought. Like they are average.
yeah.
He was averaging 3 yards a carry, like on average. And I look at Alexander Madison, I'm like, he's averaging less than 3 yards a carry. But again,
Mm-hmm.
he's got the rushing touchdown. And if you're both, and he's got the receiving touchdown too. If you're both getting nothing in the running game, it comes down to who gets the touchdowns. Like you said, who gets the goal line work. And if it's not you, then you have no value. So
Yeah.
unless you're getting 40 carries, that ain't happening anymore in today's NFL. Like the only one rosterable. Like we've talked, we just said it. Like he's definitely led the charge in this, and he has got 60 yards of offense in 2 weeks, or in
Mm-hmm.
rushing yards. And I'm like, that is regardless of he doesn't have a lot of like anything that stands out passing wise. Zaire White does. So if that's the case, what are we doing here? Like he's averaging 4 points a game. What are we
Yeah.
doing? I also one that I'm like don't say DeAndre Swift has been just awful, and that is a product of, and he's gotten 10 plus carries a game, and it is just we talked about it last week. I was frustrated with their usage of him. Like that offense does nothing right now, absolutely nothing. That Bears offense is miserable, and I was thinking Caleb Williams get a little bit of running, and then throwing those three guys give a little bit of space, but they are not respecting that at all the other defenses, Tennessee or Houston. Now, those defenses I think will be surprisingly better than people think, Houston especially, and Tennessee, like really too. But I mean, in 2 weeks they played the Rams. Like that's not a walk over the park either. They've been surprisingly efficient at turning that thing around, other than the last week with Arizona. Indy's not great, but like they do get Carolina, I guess. But like it's just like, are you telling me if I ever play a good defense, like he's gonna do like get me like 4 points, like he's been the last couple weeks? Like
Yeah.
that's just incredibly rough. So early, it'll get a little better, but like 92% rostered, averaging 5 points a game, that has to come down. I have to see something else because my goodness, yeah, not good, not good. That's been incredibly frustrating. Um, but yeah, other than that, the running backs in the top are just kind of the guys you.
Yeah.
In fact, the only one that really popped off is J.K. Dobbins, who I thought was going to be the backup in the backfield there. And I also everyone's like, man, he's really good. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to average like 9 yards a carry for the season. Call me crazy. He's been very good. I think he'll get more and more touches as it goes on. I mean, he definitely got 7 more carries than he did the first week and still averaged over 7 yards a carry. But I'm like, it will come down. He's not going to get 20 points a game. But that's been a pleasant surprise, and I think it will largely. And he's 86% rostered. It should be in the 90s. I think that's pretty safe here going forward.
Right.
But
Yeah.
as a positive, other than that, running backs wise, I'm like, yeah, these are the guys you should roster anyways before the season.
Yeah, the Dobbins thing, I'm just like he's never been healthy, and you're gonna
Yeah,
give him a ton of work. It's like, well, enjoy while it lasts.
yeah,
I
yeah.
might want to consider trading it if you see an opportunity. But if this is his year, it's just like what an improbable coming off what wasn't an Achilles last year,
A couple, yeah.
and then it was the knee the year before. So it's just like
I mean, he's averaging what,
okay,
13 touches. It's not like he's like getting killed. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
so it's like I could see like you get 13 touches, but again, like he's not going to average 9 yards a touch. Like if
Yeah.
you get 13 a season, I can be like, hey, he's injury prone, but 13 a game, that's probably could probably be healthy. But when you average 4 yards a carry, like 13 is still it's not going to be as good. You're not going to get 20 anymore. But
All
they do
right.
like to run it there, so they are going to do that.
Yeah. I'll say let's get to wide receiver because I feel like there's a wide spectrum of outcomes in terms of definitely hang on to him or cut him or pick him up or I don't even know where to start.
I
It's
do.
ridiculous.
Nico Collins has shown up for Houston. People were like,
Mm.
"Oh, Tank Dell, Nico Collins,
Hmm.
Diggs." That might be the other one that like the big three. Best three sets of receivers.
True.
If the San Francisco is also healthy too, maybe them. But um, Nico Collins has gotten tons of targets there. yeah, everyone's like, oh, Diggs is going to ask for targets. Nico Collins just keeps getting the targets thrown to him. So I think Diggs will have like a game where he's like, I want the ball more, but like it feels like Nico's the guy. He might be the one. So that was kind of surprising for me. I was like, oh, I'll roster him, like something like this. But I think Diggs will demand more coverage, and I really like Tank Dell. We both, I think, like Tank Dell on this podcast, who's very
Yeah.
good, but just like there's only so many targets to go around. But yeah, he's clearly taken over the Lions' share of targets so far in the first 2 weeks, and that's been with how much he's taken over is the surprising part. Not that he has the most, but it's just like he's got good like 5 more targets than Diggs. So he's the one.
Oh yeah. No one could really take the lion's share because man, the Lions passed the ball so much. It's ridiculous. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams are in the top 5 each of just targets.
Yeah.
They've each got over 20.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jameson Williams, 83% roster, you can just keep ticking that thing up. I mean, that was my dark horse wide receiver last year, and coming off the injury and the IR, and but he figured things out. You saw flashes, and then, I mean, with what Laporta was doing for them last year, it's kind of like you needed someone to kind of fill in those big roles, and that's what he's doing so far this year.
It looked like the adage of baseball players of Tommy John that first year back where they're kind of getting their legs right. It's what it looked like with him. He's like, I'm cutting again, but it's not crisp yet. Now it looks like, okay, I'm healthy, and this is why he was going to be a top 5 pick, but towards ACL, right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm healthy, and I could do what was going to make me a top 5 pick, and they kind of a steal with that. So now he's healthy, and did he also get in trouble for gambling? Is that what? Also, he was the guy who got in trouble for gambling too and missed a bunch of games last.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So, but like he's not. Yeah. So yeah, he looks healthy and looks fantastic. I have doubts that like Malik Neighbors is going to keep doing this, but like it's the old adage. I honestly, I'm going to ask you, like, does he keep getting so many targets, and do the other teams just be like, let's just guard Malik Neighbors, let anybody else beat us, and like it's Daniel Jones throwing the ball, but like I figured I didn't didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out coming into the season, and it still is like, you know what I mean? Like he's still putting up numbers. So I'm just like, does it continue? Like, do they just keep getting him the ball? Like, does it? You get 18 targets last week, JT.
Oh yeah,
like maybe not 18, but like 74. He's gonna get about 10 a week, and I think they're just gonna force feed him. Honestly, even if he's covered, I just think they're gonna force feed him.
Oh yeah, it's DeAndre Hopkins. Like that's what I think. You full PPR. You're loving Neighbors.
Yeah.
Anything else, you're just like, hopefully it's a best ball league. It's just like it's gonna be week in and week out, super dependent on just the type of defense they're playing and the kind of how close the game can maybe stay. But overall, it's just like, I don't know. I kind of just lean to, it's fun. He's a rookie. He's got 18 targets. He's got some great catches.
He's great he's great contested catches. So that's exactly what he's going to be, because he's going to be like doubled, and they're going to have to be contested, and he can do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's not Tyreek Hill where he's like, contested, you're going to get doubled. He's like, I can still do this. You know what I mean? Like, I can still go up and get it. Like, so
it's just tough to rely on anything like touchdowns. He's going to be just super just yardage and volume dependent.
Are you saying we're going to see a Megatron out there where like they're going to be on the goal line and be like, look, we have Devin Singletary. We can't let Tom's fantasy team score. We're going to double Malik Neighbors out here just on the one route.
Just in case.
Just in case. I have a couple here that I'm like, well, I actually, the wide receivers is so interesting at the top. Chris Godwin, just 8 targets, like a machine. Boom, 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 boom. And it's just a touchdown. Like, and I don't see why not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see why not again. And I don't, every year, if everyone's like, man, it's not Chris Godwin. It's not Chris Godwin. He is the Jose Ramirez of this position.
Boom.
He's been so consistent other than the year he got hurt. Like, it is just like, I'm a dude. Everyone's like, I don't know. And he's like, the second most fantasy points. Average second most fantasy points. maybe not going to average the second most fantasy points because there are more mouths to feed. But I think that's simply it. I think it's if but based on pure talent, he might be up here. It's just like there's more mouths to feed. Like Mike Evans is gonna get his 1,000 yards, and so it's just like Chris Godwin's gonna have to. It's part of the build. But like if they just let Baker Mayfield rip it, because again that's in the running backs drop all those running backs. Those running backs are not getting it done in Tampa Bay, and they're just gonna throw that ball, and it is just those two guys still got it. I don't they're just getting it done. They're both just getting it done, and I don't get it. But it's so fun to watch. It's just so
I
fun to watch.
I appreciate the heck out of it because as consistent as Mike Evans is, it's 1B. It's Chris Godwin's is good for 1,000. It's just not as usually as many catches, but hey, it's still producing. It's just really each year in year out, as long as they're both healthy, just who gets more touchdowns. It's just kind of swung one way or the other.
They're the same receiver. Just Mike Evans started the streak first, and so that's why everyone's like, "Oh, Mike Evans," and then Chris Godwin's like, "I'm just doing the same thing. Just like I just started later." You know what I mean? Like it's just like I'm incredibly consistent, just doing the thing.
Mhm.
So another one, rostered 63% of 63% of leagues, and I think this is exactly where it should be. Rashid Shaheed. Because my issue with him is not like he is maximizing those targets. 9 targets, 7 catches, 24 yards a pop, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's not going to continue. Shocker, like 24, but like 60% is about right because like that deep ball threat, it is very much like a prime Drew Brees. Like he's got to pop off occasionally. 4 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. Now it's not going to be the volume of those receptions, but man, it's going to be that prime Deshaun Jackson. When he catches one, it's going real far. And so I feel like he should be about 60-something% rostered right now because I feel like after a while they're going to be like, look, let's not let them take. Because a lot of quarterbacks are like, the good quarterbacks are like, let's not let them take the top off us. They were just letting the Saints do whatever because it's
Mhm.
and they're like, okay, Shaheed can kind of run a little bit. He threw a double coverage to against Dallas, and Shaheed went and got it, and he just ran past the Dallas safeties. And I'm like, oh, that is like speed. And I think the other teams are gonna be like, let's not run that guy run past us. Maybe that's probably really good. I mean, if Tyreek Hill doesn't run past you anymore and has to do get funkier things, let's make the Saints do it with this guy too. So I think like they're gonna start figuring that out. Like, let's not get this guy get past us. Another one is kind of same thing. Alex Pierce, we talked about it like week 1, 3 catches, 47 yards. But he followed up week 2 with 7 targets at 5 receptions, 56 yards. Now, only 11, but he still got that touchdown too. So it actually made me really encouraged. I'm like, okay, it wasn't all like that, that 60-yard touchdown run. They're like, let's maybe feed him a little bit more. Like give him more than double the targets here. And so he's only rostered in 13% of leagues, and I'm like, maybe that should be a little higher. Like the target share increased, and so I'm like, okay, the accuracy is always going to be an issue with whatever receivers in that team because Richardson's about 60%, a little bit less, 55. So that's going to be an issue. Just look at the targets and understand that's you're going to catch a lower percentage of them than you are somebody else's team, but like they threw it at him a bunch. He's not a sprinter. He's a guy who can actually catch some balls. So that was really nice to see, and so I think it should be higher.
Yeah, I would believe in Pierce right now until what's his name?
Oh,
Is it Josh Downs gets healthy?
yeah, I believe so. I need to.
Yeah.
Is that so? As you looked it
Yeah,
up?
ankle injury.
Yeah.
But preseason, I remember reading through different depth chart reports, and Richardson was quoted to be like, "Hey, Alex Pierce is a dude. Like, it's kind of has like a nice connection with him. Can't deny that. It's
He
obviously
scored one
showing up."
touchdown last week, and it was him. So I'm just like, and Michael Pittman's been healthy the whole time, and they've just been they've been targeting him, but it's just they're not catching it.
Yeah.
They're again, the catches are going to be down, but they're just like, look, Alex just keeps, and it's just increasing. It's increasing. So I'm like, let's just see what he got. He could obviously run a good deep ball, because he did that a couple times week 1. But yeah, it was just, I was like, okay. And then they threw more targets. I was like, okay, like he's not a one-trick pony here. So let's see what this is. I like Brian Thompson Jr. Sorry, I lose my voice now. He's 80% roster though, and I think it's about where he should be. He had a monster week 2. I remember saying like after like I liked his targets, or like he got all of his targets for 47 yards. Like there's something there, and he still got 4 targets, but only caught 2 of them. But went for like 94 yards. So it made
Mhm.
his made his day look a lot better. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it'll look better, but I'm like, look, let's don't go crazy on the adding him any more to that. 70% is probably right about there. Jags need to figure some stuff out. Like a lot of NFL passing teams, but like still, yeah, they need to figure some stuff out there before they get that climbs any higher. Let's see here. Oh, I don't want to say like all Bears receivers are like, oh man, but I'm nervous. Pickens too. Pickens had a 40-yard catch in week 1. That was half of his yards, and then he got 30 yards last week. I again, like if Fields is the quarterback, any offensive weapon for Pittsburgh is just like absolutely not 94% rostered. No, if you
Mhm.
think Russell's going to come and be the quarterback, keep it. If you think Justin Fields is winning that job, you need to cut Pickens. Like this is what it's going to be. Like unfortunately, this is going to be their offense, and that's just where we're at. 94% is insane for a Justin Fields led offense. Like it's just insane. So, um, yeah, no bueno. No bueno.
Yeah, I'm trying to scrape through the pile of wide receivers. There's so many. I feel like this is something I was kind of looking at, so now I'm kind of revisiting, like now that we're 2 weeks in and seeing what to make of the wide receiver room in Buffalo. And Shakir, I feel like, is the one that I would want to roster the most.
Yep.
And he's kind of on the down low. Only 8 targets, but hey, 8 receptions.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is his calling card. He catches the football at a very high rate. And I think, I don't know if he got qualified last year, but he was the top dog last year in terms of receptions per target. Um, and he's got the next 3 weeks. He's got Jacksonville, Baltimore, Houston. Those teams are giving up big wide receiver games. Like we could see how this plays out in the next 3 weeks, and I feel like if you're needing some weird flex spot, or we talked about a lot of injuries and a lot of them being wide receivers. Shakir might be the one I would tab in terms of he's 59% rostered. He's not gonna he's not costing you a waiver wire ad. He's hasn't really like boomed yet, but I feel like these next few weeks when you would need him the most because you've got to IR one of your wide receivers, like could be a sneaky pickup that you could just add as a free agent after all the waiver wires clear out on Wednesday.
Yeah. Um, two other situations. 100%. The Rams. Everyone thought Tyler Johnson was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Was not. Two catches, 20 yards. I would put a waiver claim as long as it doesn't cost you a lot. If it's fab, put a couple bucks on one of the receivers, for them. But like, don't spend a lot because I feel like them and the Packers in the same situations for different situations. One, the quarterback got hurt in Green Bay. One move. Again, we talked about it. The Rams. Everyone got hurt. So both are going to probably spray the ball around because it's just a survival thing at this point. And I just think the Packers aren't going to throw it that much. So whoever's going to get it is just going to kind of get it. So I feel like both guys, if you want to there's no true number one, and so it's all be damned. It's like you could honestly any of the three of all the top three at either team, like it's like a free for all basically. You could convince me like Romeo Dobbs, number one guy for Green Bay, absolutely.
Mhm.
Any of the three for the Rams, like Tyler Johnson, oh he's number one over Tutu or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not confident in either of those. So I feel like the Rams game just got out of hand, and then it's just what it was. So it's not indicative of what their game is going to be, but I don't know what their normal game is going to be indicative of when it comes to receivers. So
Right. It's true.
just maybe throw a little waiver, a couple bucks, but don't go crazy because that is a waste of money if you spend a ton of money. If it's $100, $5, maybe even $8 if you want to just hopefully you get a little lucky, they get a connection or something like that. But I'm maxing out probably at 5. Like, Tyler Johnson's there. 13%. Let's $5 to see who maybe he goes to number one. There with Matthew Stafford because they will throw it a bunch. So I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be nice to $5, but I have no faith in that's the right answer, and I don't have any faith in any of them being the right answer. So that's my thought on both situations.
Yeah.
Most of the Packers guys were already rostered because it's kind of spread out, but I feel like it's definitely that way. Everyone was like, "Oh man, got to get Jalen Reed 31 fantasy points, 9 yards." Like I'm just like I don't know what. Like Green Bay is a mess. It's gonna be a mess. Matthew Stafford will throw the ball to the wide receivers. I just don't know which one. Green Bay, I don't know if they throw the ball anymore. Like I don't know. So that's just what it is.
Yeah. And without running too long, there was one name in terms of like I'm just trying to maybe salvage value, cut if I absolutely have to. But Cooper for the Browns, I see all those targets and it the lack of receptions, it ain't on him. You got to have the ball kind of. I don't know what qualifies as a target, but I'd like to reevaluate that NFL stats. I don't feel like
Yeah,
an uncatchable ball should be a target. It just looks awful there in Cleveland, and I don't really want any part of that offense, and I feel bad for Amari.
yeah.
But
It's a dumpster fire. Yeah,
yeah, just like bench, and if you could sell for 80 cents on the dollar or something, I would definitely explore that.
yeah. There's nothing there. Just nothing. And I don't think it's gonna get better. Unlike we've talked about, so
Right.
like it might be like there's nothing. I don't think it ever gets better. I mean, I don't know if it could be this bad, but you know what I mean. Like very marginally, it's gonna get better.
Yeah.
Like I don't foresee any like huge rostering these guys at all. Is even an idea. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair. I just think
And
yeah.
then any tight ends real quick that stand
I
out? I
was
might
gonna
have
say I
one,
was really
but
sneaky on Brock Bowers, but everyone already caught on real quick, and he's rostered really high now in the 80s. So
look at that.
and he had a monster week too, because again, it's just Devontae Adams there. Other than that, no, not really, not anybody
Hmm.
caught my eye. That it's tight ends, and
Yeah. I had Ingram going into week 2. I grabbed Hunter Henry
yep,
because I felt like Brissett there and everything. That oh my gosh! I mean, you watched or listened to the Seahawks game, rewatched it. Like that
yes,
was the Hunter Henry throw in the
especially
first
in the first half,
quarter.
he had like 100 yards in the first half. Yeah,
Yeah,
oh man,
it
yeah,
was ridiculous. And then we talked also about Cincinnati. I don't know who Burrow's supposed to be thrown it to. Well, so far it's Gesicki because not too much else. So he's got a good amount of targets, receptions for a tight end. 5% rostered. Hunter Henry 25% rostered. Those guys are fifth and sixth in terms of fantasy points there for I think it's a half PPR format I'm looking
I'll
at.
say one disappointment. Kyle Pitts. I thought this was it, man. 95% rostered. You got three. You've got your average of 6 points a game, and it's because you caught a touchdown. You know what I mean? Like you're averaging 20. You're averaging 23 yards a game on 3 catches. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's here, man. I don't know. Kirk Cousins is not the most mobile guy right now, clearly, but let's say his Achilles does heal. He's not going to get much more mobile, my guy. Like I don't think it's going to get much better in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like it's like halfway through the season. That might be your fantasy season's over, my guy. Like I thought it was it. I tried to sneak him in a couple leagues. I'm like, I feel like this bounce back could be bounce back with some Kirk Cousins and a few. There's no more excuse of not having a baller back there. And Kirk Cousins isn't 100% healthy, but he led a drive that when they needed it tonight on Monday Night Football, and it wasn't you. It wasn't you, Kyle Pitts. So
Oh man.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one's disappointed me. I was rooting for you. So yep.
There's time, Sean. Don't give up. Don't
What is it?
give
Year
up
3?
completely.
Like, there's a point.
In the tight end realm, it's a
That's
longer leash. Let's just
true.
be honest. It's
That actually is very, very true. There
yeah,
is the longer leash, so that is true. All right.
cool. All right, so yeah, tweet at us, Fantasy Dad Pods on the X. If you got anybody you want to cover, ask about, flex, who should I start, whatever. Week 3 coming up. But otherwise, man, we have a lot to cover. 'Tis the season. It's September. We got lots of fantasy sports going on. But he's Sean. I'm JT. As always, we thank you for joining us. We appreciate you listening. Take care. Be well. And until next time, see you.
See ya.